Welcome to BootSpy. My name's William. Today we're talking about the Red Wing Classic Chelsea. I'm going to discuss the style, leather quality, sole quality, fit and sizing, and ultimately whether or not this boot is right for you. Let's get into it. Guys, thank you so much for joining me. As I said, today we are reviewing the Red Wing Classic Chelsea. This is actually a new boot from Red Wing in the Heritage line. It came out in spring 2021, and I'm reviewing this more towards the end of the year, so it's been out for a few months, and I've had a chance to really break these in, wear them around town, so I can give you my full, unfiltered thoughts. Let's start off and talk about the style of the boot. Now this is built on the same number 8 last as the Red Wing Iron Ranger and the Blacksmith. So it has that bump toe, which you could probably see here. So it is definitely a more roomy, more bulky Chelsea boot. It reminds me a lot of like a Blundstone, or there's some other options out there. There's a ton of brands that have copied Blundstone. So it's definitely one of those like bigger work type Chelsea boots, not nearly as slim and sleek as a Thursday boot or many of the other options out there with a more form-fitting Chelsea. I gotta say, you know, this type of Chelsea boot isn't really my favorite thing. If I'm gonna go a Chelsea boot, I think it should be dressier. I think it should be slimmer, sleeker. I prefer that. So I'm not really a huge fan of just the bulkier Chelsea boot in general, but I honestly feel that this, you know, the Heritage line, it has some really huge iconic boots. I mean, we're talking about the Red Wing Iron Ranger. We're talking about the, you know, Red Wing Classic Mock. We got the Blacksmith. There's just these boots that really stand out. They're super unique. They're one of a kind. When you see somebody wearing them, you're like, that's a Red Wing for sure. And to me, I don't really get the sense with the Red Wing Classic Chelsea that it's that iconic. Beyond my preference of not really liking bigger, bulkier Chelsea boots, and me I don't really find it super unique. There are some things to note about the style of this boot. Now, because it is a little bit larger, I've noticed that pretty much with all Red Wing boots, you can't wear anything too tapered. You know, if you're wearing tapered jeans or chinos or anything like that, you need to have a wider leg opening just so it can really fit around the boot and you don't look like you have clown shoes on. So it's important to get a pair of jeans or something like that that has a wider leg opening so that you avoid that bulbous large foot look. The Red Wing Classic Chelsea features a 360-degree Goodyear welt, and it comes in 3 different colorways. So again, this is the Ebony Harness. This is the 3191. You can also find a version in the Amber Harness. This is the Iron Ranger and Amber Harness, but it's the same type of leather. That is the 3190. And then you can also find it in Hawthorne, which is a more rough out leather, and that is the 3192. Like with any Chelsea boot, you get the elastic goring right here. It also has a nylon pull tab. This is pretty flexible, so you don't end up getting this caught on the back of your pants. And then you have the backstay running up back here. Let's get that in focus right there. Got the backstay right there. And then the upper is pretty interesting. It's actually a full separate piece of leather that goes down around the toe. So this is a full separate piece of leather, and then it's a little bit of leather lining on the inside, but then there's also a fabric lining around the toe. So let's talk about the leather quality. So when I measured this out, the leather along the heel, this piece of leather right in here that goes around to the backstay, that is about 2.5 millimeters thick. So that's actually a really thick piece of leather. It also has a leather lining around the heel and a little bit in the on the instep. That's also 1.5 millimeters thick. So you end up having 4 millimeters of leather at least around this part right here. So that is super, super thick. And this is Ebony Harness leather. It is super soft, super supple. It is a really, really excellent leather. It's been aging really well. It's been creasing really well. And then especially, you know, you get into the backstay, and this is actually gonna come up a little bit later with the break-in, but when you get to the backstay, there's like 6 or 7 millimeters of leather, and then you also have a heel counter in there. It's like it gets crazy back in the heel, which my heels don't really get messed up. I don't have problems with the heels wearing out, but if you do, that's definitely not gonna happen with this boot. There is so much leather on the back of this boot. It gets kind of interesting in the front. So there is actually a fabric liner, a really, really soft fabric liner that runs throughout the whole toe box. So it doesn't have the leather lining all the way throughout. It's really just in this portion and in the heel, but all the way out throughout the toe. You get a leather liner, and the leather is actually a lot thinner. You can tell from this part right here, just right at the front of the instep, at the top of the instep, at the top of the boot shaft. That leather is only 1.5 millimeters thick. So this actual top piece right here, the majority of the boot, the toe, that's 1.5 millimeter thickness, which, you know, I would have expected it to be 2 millimeters, something a little bit thicker. That's not the case. Maybe they were saving some money. I don't know what it was, but that does make for a really, really easy, gentle break-in. It might have, I don't think it's gonna have any durability issues just because this type of boot, you're not gonna be really like working in it too much. If you do use it for work, it's probably light duty. So there's not gonna be a huge risk of damaging the boot because it's got thinner leather. And then what you lack in, you know, maybe a little bit of durability, you're gonna make up for in breathability and general comfort. Moving on to the sole, this is a Track and Tread Red Wing sole. So that is made with crepe rubber. This is a very hardened crepe rubber. So it's not like, if most people's experience is with like a pair of Clark's Desert boots, that's super light, super squishy, really not very durable crepe rubber at all. Whereas the Red Wing Track and Tread, I've been, you know, I've had for longer, I've had the Classic Mock. This is the same sole right here. This one is in white, this one is in black. But this sole, it has a ton of grip on it, ton of traction. It's really comfortable. And to me, I think it offers the best balance of, you know, durability and then shock absorption, comfort, and you know, it doesn't wear down too quickly in the heel like any other crepe rubber sole would. The insole is made with a leather footbed and a cork midsole. So basically that is just going to continue to break in, get softer, more comfortable over time. And then of course, this is a 360-degree Goodyear welt. So if you really didn't like this wedge sole, you can wear it around a bunch, wear it down the heel, and you could slap on a new type of sole, maybe a Vibram, you know, mini lug sole, something like that, and really change the look of this boot overall. Getting the right fit and sizing for this boot is pretty easy, pretty straightforward. If you've ever shopped with Red Wing before, Iron Ranger, Blacksmith, Classic Mock Toe, that's the same sizing here. So for me, that is a half size smaller than I normally would get with a pair of sneakers. I'm a 10.5 in sneakers. I get the size 10 in all of my Red Wings, and it fits really well. It's important to note that I believe only the Amber Harness comes in a double E width. The Ebony Harness and the Hawthorne, those are just standard D width, so you don't get a variety of widths unless you want to go with Amber Harness. And then even then, you only have D and double E. So important to note, if you do have wide feet, one of the benefits of this bump toe last is that, say if you have wide feet, they're not like super wide, but just wide enough to make most shoes uncomfortable, you can get your normal sneaker size, and then that will leave a little bit of extra room in the toe because of the way it's shaped, the last is shaped. You'll have more room in your toes to wiggle around. If you want like a full detailed breakdown of how a Red Wing should fit, I have a link down in the description below that goes to BootSpy.com. You can check out everything about how to size any Red Wing boot. It's our full breakdown, our full guide there. Looking at the break-in period, I didn't have a rough break-in period with this based on the, you know, a pain perspective. It was really comfortable as soon as you put it on your foot. It's a very comfortable boot right away, and then walking, there's no blisters, no nothing like that. But what did take a while was, I think it was about 10 miles of walking where this is the loudest boot I've ever worn. Did you hear that? It was kind of hard to get people to take me seriously. We're going on a walk. Maybe I'm telling something serious, right? I got squeaky shoes. I don't know. It took a long time, but after about 10 miles, it got a little bit quieter, and now it doesn't squeak so much. But that was definitely something on my mind because every time I'm taking a step, it's like, so I'm listening to that. That took about 10 miles, but it broke in. It's good. That is the only break-in period with this boot. Here's my final verdict on the Red Wing Classic Chelsea. Now, in terms of construction quality, materials used, and overall, just like how this boot feels, how it looks, I would say absolutely. The boot costs about, what, $280 bucks, either $270 or $280. So it's up there. And if you compare that to Blundstones are $200. I think in terms of quality and construction, the Red Wing absolutely outclasses Blundstone by a mile. So all of those things, how it feels and how the durability is going to go, all that stuff, this boot is fantastic. Now, if I didn't own a boot channel and if it wasn't my responsibility or I didn't feel it was my responsibility to review these boots for you, I probably would never have gotten the Red Wing Classic Chelsea just because, again, like I said, just the bulkier Chelsea boot, it's just, I don't know where it fits. I like a slimmer, sleeker Chelsea boot. So the style isn't really for me, but if it's for you, well then everything else checks out. So if you like that bigger, bulkier Chelsea boot, if you want something, a Chelsea boot that you can you could do some work in, well then this is an excellent option. Red Wing, they're always high quality. The leather is excellent, it's so soft. It basically requires no care at all. So if you like the style of this boot, then you're not gonna go wrong with the quality. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the thumbs up and also hit that subscribe button down below. You should see some other Red Wing review videos coming up right here. So head over there, see what I thought about other Red Wing boots in the Heritage line. Until next time, put your best boot forward.